wish I could read these biographies of Ludwig. Wait a minute. Ludwig II, fairy tale king of Bavaria. I didn't see this before. Yep, English. Huh. Ludwig remained throughout his life both very bright and very naive. He was an introvert who seemed to be constantly out of sync with traditional views of rulership, money, and human relationships. The world ever failed to match his ideals. Perhaps this was a fault of his sheltered upbringing as future king. He never was introduced to the real world, and the real world failed to interest him as an adult. In his youth, Ludwig was in fine physical condition and loved to hike alone in the Alps and ride horses. He had a hunting lodge, Schahen, specifically for this purpose. Unfortunately, in 1872, a rather traumatic hunting accident befell the king at Schahen, and his leg was cruelly damaged. He never fully recovered from this incident, and his hiking and riding ceased. His physical health deteriorated from that time on, and explains why he looked so unhealthy in later years. A hunting accident? Other than his long-standing friendship with the Empress Elizabeth of Austria and with his mother, the relationships Ludwig attempted with others were nearly always a disappointment for him and a bewilderment for his partners. He would become obsessed with someone, a singer, an artist, a nobleman or a peasant, and would bombard them with gifts, praise, and favors. When they would fail to return the depths of rapturous passion he required, the singular adoration and humble obedience he expected, he would grow disappointed and cut himself off from them. The objects of his interest were occasionally women, usually ones he fell in love with after seeing them in idealized roles on the stage, but they were more often young men who fit his fantasies of the heroic sagas like Lohengrin and Parsifal that he so loved. A good example of the king's obsessive behavior in relationships is the following letter from the Königlich Bayerische archives, which this author was privileged to access. It is dated 1864, and it was written by Ludwig's manservant, Paul, to a friend. The king has been in high mood these days. The reason, of course, is a new interest. Thursday last, the king attended a performance of Lohengrin in the Wittelsbacher Theater. He came back in a fever, demanding that a man be found. The man, it was gathered, had been sitting in a box across from Ludwig and had drawn the king's attention by his beauty and his deep emotional response to the performance. The king declared that here at last is a sensitive soul. The man was tracked down and brought in for an audience. Upon my word, never have I seen any mind so in line with His Majesty's own. They discussed Wagner and France and Byron and all manner of things until long past dawn. The young man, beautiful indeed to look upon, met the king's enthusiasm and knowledge bit for bit. His Majesty has been in the thick of it ever since, and while I welcome his good temper, I grow tired of fetching letters back and forth to Louis, so called by His Majesty, that should tell you who the young man looks like, at all hours of the night. This author has not been able to learn much about Louis, but he was known to have been a seemingly high-bred foreigner, and he was involved with Ludwig as late as 1880, when he fell into disfavor. The king, especially later in life, felt a great deal of guilt about his sensual nature. His diaries are full of repentant entries begging God for forgiveness and swearing to remain pure. In many of the diary entries, he swears to abstain from sexual relations. The number of these oath entries indicate that Ludwig was not very successful in resisting temptation, yet it is also clear that Ludwig was a God-fearing man and that, though his flesh might occasionally fall, he never surrendered his heart and his conscience to sin. I wonder what Gerda's up to.
Guten Tag.
Grüß Gott, Frau Nakamura. Ich habe etwas für Sie.
Oh, it's from Gabriel.
Ja, das ist vom Schattenjäger. Ja.
No, I think you... Gabriel is a working partner and... Never mind. Danke.
Bitte, brauchen Sie noch etwas?
Gracie, you decided to come over. That's great. Guten Tag and all that. I'm sure you and Gertie are hitting it off. Thanks for finding the werewolf book. I'm not sure what it all means, but it might be useful. But Ludwig II, you know, I think you might have something there. Ubergrau says there are 2 places you should check out. Ludwig had a castle called New Swan something, and there's a museum about him here in chemistry. Something like that. I really think you should spend some time looking into it. Don't worry. Things are going very smoothly this time around. I've tracked a suspect to a hunt club run by a man named Von Glauer. He seems okay, but I'm sure there's something going on with at least one of the others. Don't worry, though. I met a police detective named Liebe, so I have backup. I'll be finished soon. Sit tight and enjoy your visit till I get there. Gabriel.
What does he think? I'm on vacation here? And no address. Thank you very much, Mr. Knight. Danke.
Bitte.
Herr Huber?
Yes?
I was wondering if you've changed your mind about telling me where Gabriel is. It's really important.
No. Sorry.
Thanks.
Bitte.
Hello there, dear.
Hi, I'm Grace Nakamura from the castle. Am I interrupting?
Heavens, no.
Have a seat, Miss Nakamura.
Well, I might. For a moment.
Isn't this nice? We just finished our breakfast. Do you want something?
No, thanks.
Good for you. I can never turn down food myself. Now you just tell us all about it, Sugar Pie.
You mentioned the other night that you were a demonologist. What is that exactly?
Well, it's not as bad as it sounds, honey. What Emma and I really do is to help protect people.
Protect them from what?
Well, do you believe in the devil, Miss Nakamura?
I believe in good and evil, if that helps.
Oh, but Satan and his demons are real, and they will attack the living. And most folks don't know what to do once they've been attacked. We try to help protect people.
How can you protect people from demons?
Best protection is faith in God, of course. But sometimes faith isn't enough. Sometimes we have to delve into the supernatural in order to protect others. Your Schottenjoggers are just the same.
We are? I mean, he is?
Of course. The warriors of light are rare these days, but they do exist all around the globe.
That's interesting. I just read about a group called Manos del Sol in Brazil. So the Ritters aren't the only Schattenjägers.
Well, they're probably the only ones to use that title, but others have been chosen for the battle.
Do you know anything about King Ludwig II?
Sure, we saw his castles, didn't we, Mother?
We sure did. Why do you ask?
Well, I found a letter in the Schattenjäger library warning Ludwig about the Black Wolf.
Who wrote the letter?
One of Gabriel's ancestors, a Schattenjäger.
Seems like whoever was using me as a megaphone helped you find that letter. Perhaps you should follow the path something's pointing at. Look into Ludwig.
I intend to. The other night you said something about the Black Wolf. What did you mean? Where did you hear that name?
I wasn't the one talking.
I don't understand.
Well, that's quite all right. The point is, it would be a very good idea to answer those questions, and we must work together to do so. Of course I'll help you, Pumpkin. I'd like to know myself, wouldn't I? It isn't every day one's taken over by a disembodied spirit, and I don't much care for it, thank you.
You're not talking about a seance, are you?
Oh, heavens no.
Thank God.
Emil's right. I'm much better at tarot cards. I can read for you or for someone else if you prefer.
Are you sure you don't know anything about the Black Wolf?
I never did, dear. I told you. Really, you mustn't confuse the vessel with the voice. All I remember was seeing a very bright flash like lightning. Next thing I knew, Emil had me outside. Whatever it was very powerful. Very powerful.
Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to do my tarot reading.
Don't you worry now. I know what I'm doing. Push your vital energies into the cards. This is your soul card, that which applies to all of your lifetimes. It's the Empress. Oh, that's a good one.
What's it mean?
It means that your soul's journey is one of leadership. There's great strength here and intelligence. This card represents what you're like in this lifetime. It's the Chariot. Self-discipline, control. You need to feel you have a plan, that you're testing your abilities. The Chariot's very masculine. In combination with the Empress, it tells me that you're currently exploring your male side. You will seek out great achievement, but it does have its price.
Doesn't sound anything like me.
Yes, dear. The third card represents the other. You've pulled the Magician. Who is he, dear?
Excuse me?
Your other, the Magician. Oh, this is a very powerful card. Major Arcana.
My other?
Everyone has an other. Let's see. I bet it's the Schattenjäger. What's his name?
The Schattenjäger? Gabriel Knight.
A name of power. He is powerful, this one. The Magician is dexterous and cunning, mischievous and manipulate.
That's Gabriel, all right.
And very strong with magical and occult powers. Now, this is interesting because your card, the Chariot, is all logic and reasoning, while his, the Magician, is spiritual and intuitive. You two are quite a pair. The fourth card shows what you're trying to achieve at this moment, your immediate destiny. It's the Strength or Lust card.
Lust?
Not that kind of lust, dear. It's a trial card, finding the strength to continue some difficult journey. It also represents the integration of conflicting energies. That must be your Chariot and his Magician energies. Strength also means bonding those energies, loving without judgment, learning to love the beast.
Uh-huh.
What is this trial, dear? Do you know?
Well, Gabriel and I are involved with the case right now.
It will be a hard time. You must let your love give you power. Use the positive energy of your union or you may not succeed.
I think you have the wrong idea. Gabriel and I just work together.
Yes, dear. But if I might just suggest, when you're facing negative forces, the positive energy of love is a very vital weapon. You make yourself vulnerable when you resist your own tools.
Well, that's been helpful.
I hope so, dear.
Maybe we should do a reading for Gabriel.
Oh, let's! It's a little like spying on someone unawares, but what the heck? Reach out to the cards and to think about his essence. His soul card is the Magician. Yes, dear, it reflects your other exactly.
Well, maybe, but I'd rather hold out for David Copperfield.
And his lifetime card? Oh, goodness. The Lovers.
You mean the sole purpose of his life is in his pants? Doesn't surprise me.
It's not what you think, dear. It's a duality card. As a lifetime card, it refers to Gabriel's own duality. Good versus evil, physical pleasure versus spiritual growth, that kind of thing. His challenge is to integrate the conflicting parts of himself. Until he does, he'll never find peace. And you will find peace when you acknowledge all of him. Find a way to love the worst as you already love the best.
You're really reaching.
Mother.
His other is the High Priestess.
Let me guess. That's me, right?
No, dear, it's not. The High Priestess represents psychic mysteries, deep wisdom. This is a very different energy from your earthy one. This must be our connection. To the voice, dear! Someone is trying to communicate with Gabriel. This force is represented by the High Priestess.
That's not much help. What about the Black Wolf?
But it is a help, dear. The High Priestess is a spiritual guide card if ever there was one. The message must have been a warning.
If this force is connected to Gabriel, and if he's so very psychic, then why doesn't it just go to him? Why say it to me?
Maybe Gabriel's blocked. Maybe he's purposefully blocking. There is that duality business. Let's go on and see if it becomes clear. The fourth card, remember, represents the current situation. It's death.
Oh. Nothing to worry about then.
Now, you just leave interpretation up to me, Sugar Pie. It's a transformation card, dying to one thing and being born to another. It is painful, but it isn't necessarily bad. Two of Wands. Oh, my.
What?
A 2 is not good here. Wands is Mars in Aries. That's a war card. In conjunction with the death card, there are 2 possible transformations.
2 transformations?
Yes, dear. Gabriel is waging a spiritual battle. The transformation might be good or evil. That must be the purpose of the High Priestess. She's trying to guide him.
So you think he really might be in danger?
Oh, yes, dear. Gabriel's very essence is at stake. If he takes the wrong path with his powers, Imola and I will stay in town. You must let me know if anything else happens that we can read for clues. Let the Force use you.
I'd better go.
Anytime you need us, stop by.
And be careful now.
Thanks.
Gerda's here. I wonder what she's up to.
Oh my god. Gerda was in love with Wolfgang.
Boy, do I feel stupid or what. want to disturb her. I really should apologize, but I don't want to interrupt her. Maybe there's something else I can do.
That's better, don't you think? I'm so sorry. I was an idiot.
Gabriel and I, we never...
I know. It's my fault. It's Gabriel's fault. He never tells me anything. I don't know why he didn't want me on this case.
Maybe he just...
Don't even try to make excuses for him. Still, he's up to his neck in it, I think. Will you help me out with something?
Of course.
I have to do some research on Ludwig. I want to go see some of his castles.
Take Gabriel's car. There's a map of southern Bavaria in the car. Ludwig's castles are all marked.
Thanks.
Good luck.
At least I have the car keys now.
Our tour begins in the entry hall. Ludwig II lived from 1845 to 1886. He assumed the Bavarian throne at the age of 18 when his father died. Ludwig's passion was building castles. He built 3 during his lifetime: Linderhof, Herrenchiemsee, and Neuschwanstein. Plans for a 4th castle, Balkenstein, were underway when he died. In addition to his obsession with building, Ludwig also had a passion for classical heroic German mythology, a taste he shared with the German opera composer Richard Wagner. Neuschwanstein is decorated throughout with themes from these stories, most of which directly relate to Wagner's operas.
I don't think the guards want to be bothered while on duty.
You are now standing in the king's bedroom. The theme of the bedroom is Tristan and Isolde, the tragic love story retold in Wagner's opera. The opera was given its first performance in Munich in 1865, and a 20-year-old Ludwig attended. This is probably the most elaborate and expensive bedroom ever created. It took 14 woodcarvers 4.5 years to create this room. It was this kind of extravagance that bankrupted the king. In the years before his death, he found it increasingly difficult to find money from any source.
That's an unusual depiction of the Madonna. It's a beautiful crucifix.
This is Ludwig's private chapel. The king was a devout Catholic, as were all of the Wittelsbacher rulers. They supported the Roman Church even when other European countries were dominated by Protestantism. This is the king's living room. The walls are decorated with scenes from the Lohengrin saga. The king first saw Wagner's opera Lohengrin when he was 16, and it so affected him that he considered it a form of enlightenment. The tragedy of Lohengrin was his essential loneliness. This too was Ludwig's own fate. Ludwig withdrew more and more into his fantasy world of epic heroes and absolute monarchy. An ideal he was determined to create in his castles, if he could not have it in his real life. He only wanted to be alone with his dreams, so much so that even his servants were kept at a distance and were not allowed to look at him.
What were you afraid they'd see? These linens look seriously expensive and seriously old. I wonder where that door leads. I don't think the guards want to be bothered while on duty. More swans.
The swan motif is featured throughout the castle, but it is particularly prominent in this room. Both the swan and the lily were symbols Ludwig associated with himself. They represented his ideals of majesty and purity. The painting behind the swan shows Lohengrin's arrival.
I can almost picture Ludwig in here. I wonder what he really dreamt about in this room.
This is a reproduction of the grotto from the Tannhäuser saga. In such places, Ludwig could pretend he was one of his beloved mythic heroes. As the grotto personifies, the castles were solitary playgrounds built for Ludwig alone. He believed the masses were too coarse to appreciate fine art, and he seldom entertained guests. In fact, Ludwig had a standing order that upon his death, the castles were to be destroyed. Fortunately, the estate was in such debt that the castles were opened for paying tours only weeks after Ludwig's death. They haven't closed since. It is one of the great ironies of Ludwig's story that the castles that he was thought insane for building are now considered Bavaria's finest treasures. They have paid for their construction many times over. This is the king's study. Ludwig spent much time at his desk, writing letters, drawing up plans for his projects, and studying his favorite authors. He loved poetry, history, and the classics. In later years, he also studied the occult. What affairs of state he did reluctantly attend to, were generally attended to alone at his desk in writing. His reluctance to meet with his heads of state and perform the duties of the king were one of the reasons for the charges brought against him in 1886. But Ludwig dreamt of true kingship and a true monarchy, and the small powers left to him after Bavaria succeeded power to Prussia only incited his disdain and frustration.
I wonder why he was studying the occult before he died.
This is the final room of our tour, the Singers' Hall. It was modeled after the Singers' Hall of the Wartburg Castle, where minstrel competitions were held in the 13th century. The hall was built for small private concerts, but Ludwig himself never gave one here. It is said that during the last few years of Wagner's life, he came to Neuschwanstein frequently and performed for the king alone in this room. The hall is probably best known for its enigmatic wolf paintings. The original paintings were from the Parsifal saga, but in 1882, Ludwig had them replaced, supplying the description and titles of the new paintings himself. While all the other rooms in the castle show scenes from Wagner's operas, the scenes in this room are not from any opera that anyone can identify. It is yet another of the many mysteries associated with the life of the fairy tale king.
Why would Ludwig have wolf paintings in his castle?
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
Ist das die Ludwig Museum?
Ja, ja. Ludwig der Zweite von Bayern.
Ich hätte gern eine Eintrittskarte fürs Museum.
Ja, 8 Mark für eine Ganztagskarte. So,
Danke.
bitte.
She's beautiful. Elizabeth of Austria. One of Ludwig's few close friends was Empress Elizabeth of Austria. She was a distant cousin of the boy Prince, and he saw her often growing up. Graceful and beautiful, Elizabeth seemed to represent the feminine ideal to the younger Ludwig. Their friendship continued after her marriage, mainly by correspondence. She remained a source of stability for Ludwig throughout his life. In keeping with Ludwig's love of romance and drama, he called her the Dove, and he to her was the Eagle. July 3rd, 1863. Elizabeth, you can have no idea, dear cousin, how happy you made me. The hours recently passed with you in the railway carriage I consider among the happiest in my life. Never will their memory fade. You gave me permission to visit you at Ischl. If the time comes for this ardent hope to be fulfilled, I shall be of all men upon earth the most blessed. The feelings of sincere love and reverence and faithful attachment to you, which I cherished in my heart even as a boy, makes me imagine heaven upon earth, and will be extinguished by death alone. I beg you with all my heart to forgive the contents of this letter, but I could not help myself. Ludwig. Elizabeth frequently gave Ludwig advice on royal conduct, hoping to protect him from unfavorable public opinion. March 1st, 1865. My dearest Eagle, you have not written me in a few months. I have missed you. I often try to imagine what you are doing. I hear tales that you have been on retreat and have not been seen in Munich for some time. I suspect it is this new friend you wrote up so mysteriously that takes you away from home. I hope you are enjoying yourself, my beloved, but I beg you to caution. The people need to see you at the throne. I also hesitate to suggest that what your officials do in your absence may not always be in your own best interest. You have always been a true king, but you must let the people see you to ensure that they don't forget that. E. Your Dove. Ludwig's friends were concerned for his mental state long before his arrest. June 14th, 1878. My beloved Eagle, in your last letter you spoke so movingly of your torment that I was moved to tears. What is this torment? Why won't you confess to me what is truly troubling you? You must know that I would never despise you, no matter how horrible you believe your sins to be. Please do not write such barbs to my heart by even suggesting such things. If you do not wish to confess to me, at least tell me how I can aid you. I am always your true one, your Dove. In this letter, dated November 1886, Elizabeth of Austria thanks Bishop Frank for his assistance in helping her fulfill Ludwig's last wishes. She writes that she knows it was an unusual request, but she believes Ludwig had reasons of his own for wishing it to be done. She hopes that his spirit finds peace at last. No further reference to this letter has ever been found. One can only speculate what the last wishes of a cornered and embattled Ludwig might have been.
What were his last wishes? This place is giving me more questions than answers.
They certainly make an incredible looking couple. Ludwig is Prince Charming. He played the part well. June 7th, 1886. A group of men arrive at Neuschwanstein Castle demanding to take the king in custody. With them is Dr. Guden, the doctor who had been in charge of Otto, the king's mentally ill brother. The men have an order for the king's arrest on the grounds of insanity. They are refused admittance by a brave group of farmers and local soldiers who have come to Ludwig's aid. They are forced to retreat to nearby Hohenschwangau. This is the first Ludwig hears of the conspiracy. Ludwig composes a pamphlet explaining the subversive acts of the conspirators and eloquently pleading with his people for aid. The pamphlet is smuggled out of Neuschwanstein and printed, but the pamphlets are seized before they can be distributed. June 12, 1886. Ludwig knows the conspirators will return. He despairs. He asks his servant for the keys to the tower. The servant, fearing the king intends suicide, says the key is lost. Unbeknownst to Ludwig, the conspirators arrive at the castle. This time, there is no one to stop them. Ludwig is lured from his bedroom to the entry hall of Neuschwanstein on pretense. There, he is taken into custody. Ludwig is taken by carriage from Neuschwanstein to Berg, where his brother Otto had long been imprisoned. This is a great blow to the king's state of mind. While on the way, the group stops at Sieshaupt to change horses. Ludwig asks to see the postmistress, Frau Vogel. She brings him a glass of water and he says something to her. She never reveals these last words to anyone. June 13, 1886. At Berg, Ludwig seems cooperative and coherent. Dr. Guden writes to the government that he has Ludwig well under control. The two men go out for a walk, and Dr. Guden is so confident he dismisses the guards. When Ludwig and the doctor do not return after several hours, a search is undertaken. The bodies of the two men are found in the lake, drowned. Circumstances unknown. June 18, 1886. Ludwig's funeral procession marches through the streets of Munich, followed by enormous crowds of mourners. The service is held at a packed St. Michael's church. Lightning strikes the church during the service, but no one is harmed. Ludwig's body is entombed in the Wittelsbach crypt at St. Michael's. His heart is placed in an urn in the pilgrimage chapel at Altading in the Wittelsbach tradition. The urn is shown to the right. His heart is in an urn. How bizarre. I have no idea what that says. Looks old, though. Oh my God. That's the slave from my dream. Maybe Mrs. Smith will know what my dream meant. I have to ask someone. This thing is getting too weird. Ludwig embarking on his sleigh. The midnight sleigh rides. Ludwig went on long sleigh rides in the middle of the night, particularly in his later years. It is said that he suffered from insomnia, headaches, and toothaches, and the rides soothed his restlessness. The sight of the king's grand sleigh speeding through the countryside of the Alps often startled the peasants and became a superstitious omen of ill fortune. I can see why. But what was he doing out there at night? Ludwig's death mask. Wow. Ludwig and Wagner. Ludwig loved the opera of his contemporary Richard Wagner. He helped support Wagner's music through much of his life. Ludwig considered Wagner a close friend, often calling him the great friend. Wagner encouraged this infatuation, some believe, for personal gain. Typical artist. Even after Wagner's death, Ludwig still showed signs of obsession with the composer. This letter, written in 1882 by Ludwig to the conductor of the Munich Opera, instructs the conductor to make preparations for a new Wagner opera. The conductor went to see the king as instructed. When he arrived, Ludwig was ill and refused to see him. Nothing further was ever heard of this mysterious new opera. Was it a figment of an ill man's desperate wishes? Ludwig is offered a crown of laurels by the genius of immortal fame. 26th July, 1874. By the power of the lily, we shall have the strength to resist all temptations throughout the whole year. July 1875. Solemn oath before the picture of the great king. Refrain for 3 months from all excitement. This oath has its binding power as well as its potency by de par le Roy, LNR, DPLR. What excitement! I need to see more of that diary. Signets and sash pins from the Order of the Knights of St. George. These were worn on Ludwig's uniform, as befitted his rank of Grand Master. They are now the property of the Bavarian Crown Treasury. I wonder if these pins have any symbolic meaning. He looks so regal. Why would he give up all of this pageantry and become a recluse? Ludwig, Grand Master of the Knights of St. George. There's gotta be a connection between all this St. George stuff and Gabriel. Ludwig is Grand Master of the Knights of St. George. The Knights of St. George was an aristocratic society dedicated to the acts of chivalry. Ludwig loved the medieval pageantry of the order in his early years, before his increasing reclusiveness drove him to abandon public appearances. Ludwig's Grand Master wardrobe from the Knights of St. George. Looks like it weighs a ton. Richard Wagner. Ludwig's diary. Ludwig kept a diary from 1869 when he was 24 years old until his death. The diary provides a fascinating look into the mind of this tormented man. The original diary is kept in the Royal Archives. A few entries are shown on the opposite wall. I've got to see that diary. I have no idea what that says.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
Ludwigs Tagebuch im Museum?
Ja,
Wo kann ich Ludwigs Tagebuch hier anschauen?
die Tagebücher sind ganz persönlich. Die sind in den königlichen Archiven. Niemand darf die lesen.
Aber
Nein, niemand darf die lesen.
danke.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
Im Museum ist einen Brief von Ludwig über eine neue Wagneroper.
Ja, ja, ich kenne diesen Brief.
Wo kann ich mehr von dieser Wagneroper sehen?
Ja, ich weiß nichts über Wagner. Das hier ist kein Wagner-Museum.
Ja, ich weiß.
In Bayreuth befindet sich ein Wagner-Museum. Versuchen Sie es halt doch, ne?
Bayreuth. Danke.
December 14th, 1881, Linderhof. Order another work by Jennings on the occult. Write urgently to Klug, saying that I insist that the stoppages by the bank cease. I want it, and therefore it must be done. Write very urgently. He must succeed at once, and then must report to me urgently. If I give orders to clear my room, doing so must not be postponed as it happened. Pencils must be pointed without special orders. The day after tomorrow, 1,000 marks. How is Louis now? I want to know whether he looks unhappy. How often have I said that the coffee must not come up boiling hot, so that it can only be drunk after standing an hour? If any more correspondence come from Louis, they are to be burnt immediately, but I am to be informed of their arrival. These are actual notes from Ludwig to his servants. They go far in showing the king's state of mind. They were smuggled out and used as evidence in compiling the order for Ludwig's arrest. December 18th, 1881, Linderhof. Every day get up earlier for certain. See to that very particularly. Write it down. Remember that when the great friend arrives at Neuschwanstein, we retire to the hall. We are not to be disturbed. I will not tolerate interference or insubordination.